I'm Matt.
I'm Shane.
And if you like what you hear, make sure you hit that thumbs up button real hard, and make sure you subscribe to Comic Movie Marks.
And also click that little bell for all of the notifications.
Whee!
Always remember,
if Trailer Trash can do it,
anyone can do it.
Hello and welcome everyone to another Comic Movie Marks video.
While we eagerly wait the Aquaman release, I guess for us, we didn't do the Amazon nonsense. We are gonna give you a filler episode, I guess, and talk about a Screen Rant article from our good friend Stephen Colbert, 5 ways Warner Brothers can try to appease Snyder Cut fans.
Yeah, we're real Aquaman fans, and we're going to see it on its release date, like real fans should.
Yes, exactly, because, yeah, that makes us real fans.
Yeah, we're not going to be some prim or proper assholes that have some kind of Cinemark or whatever special theater with your special seats and your special viewings. Assholes.
Whoop-de-doo!
Yeah, we will be seeing it Friday night. Fuck it, you know what? By the time this video comes out, we'll be announcing it anyway. We will be doing a spoiler review with Lantern 2814 as a mega podcast, as it would be. And that will probably come out this weekend or maybe Monday, sometime like that. Whatever the hell ever this process goes. So people have been asking if we're going to do any collaborations.
Ooh, yeah.
What you gonna do, brother, when the mega powers come together? But we're doing that collaboration. We're going to be talking about Aquaman, and I'm sure a bunch of other shit as well in our kind of mega podcast. It'll be coming out hopefully this weekend, and we're announcing it here on this filler episode.
Bam! There we go. That's going to get 232 views. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
I hope it shits out at 233.
Oh, man.
All right, so Stephen Colbert, he talks about this, and we've even talked about some of this a little bit in other previous Snyder
We have,
movies.
yeah. We mentioned a lot of this in previous videos. We've mentioned it just in comments and other possibilities that essentially that Warner Brothers can do if they want to try to please us, Snyder Cut fans.
Tickle the tip, play with the balls.
Yep.
Put the finger in the... anyway.
Yeah.
Cut your nails. Anyway, so he says, Warner Bros. And DC need to find a way to appease fans clamoring for a Snyder Cut of Justice League. I don't know if they need to find a way, but I'm sure they will find a way. You know, nature finds a way. He says, we know Zack Snyder completed 100% of principal photography, getting all the footage he needed for his cut of the movie, and made it well into post-production before leaving the project, so it's possible to get the movie finished for release mostly by finishing VFX. Pretty sure really what's left is score and some probably VFX touch-ups. I mean, from all the stuff Snyder posted on Vero, the evidence is there. Gal Gadot was doing ADR work, which is, you know, heavily into post-production when you're doing a cut. If you're not working on your final cut, you wouldn't be doing ADR. So she's filling in for that right there. She's fixing that. There's even that one where he says working late, and it happens to be that scene that Jason Momoa talked about where he's talking to Mira, and it says working late. And so you know that's the end of the movie. I'm not saying he's starting from his cut from the very beginning to the end, but he's working on nearly the very end. Well, I mean, to us, the sense is that you would start from the beginning and work to the end, but, you know, VFX comes in at a certain time, so you may have to skip to certain parts where there's not less VFX to start doing what you want to do, color grading and so forth.
And we've heard, I mean, it's, I guess, common knowledge that they film out of order based on sets and, you know, things like that.
Right.
So
usually filming the heavy VFX shots first so they can get sent away for VFX people to start working on them right away. And then you do the other shots, the less VFX heavy shots.
Or timing locations. A lot of times, like I remember with Man of Steel, they filmed, I want to say, in Vancouver. And then they went to Smallville, did all the Smallville scenes, and then...
Like how you just say they went to Smallville.
Pittsburgh.
Like it's fucking...
Yeah, sorry. It's, what was it? Plano, Illinois, I want to say. And they converted it to essentially Smallville. So that's where they went. And I'm sticking to it.
One of the biggest drivers of those that want the Snyder Cut is the lack of closure. Man of Steel, and especially Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, were building toward a number of payoffs that simply never came in Justice League. This had led fans on a year-long quest to find the true story of Justice League, uncovering evidence of numerous story changes in the process.
One important thing that Steven notes is the release the Snyder Cut campaign isn't going to fade away anytime soon. Warner Brothers will eventually have to find a way to appease them. He should have said us. So that I think that's something very important. Is no, we're not going away. We're going to continue to push this. Obviously, a lot of people that are leading this whole campaign, we're still motivated. We're still going with it. But what are some ways, alternate ways, aside from just releasing the Snyder Cut? Could they at least, hold us over, I guess, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, tickle the tip.
So his first option, release Chris Terrio's original Justice League screenplay.
I dig it.
Then he says if Warner Brothers were simply to release the original Chris Terrio screenplay, fans could simply scratch the itch to find out what Justice League's true original story would have been. Combined with production photos, storyboards, other scripts from Snyder, the book would be a great resource for anyone looking to understand Snyder's original vision. It also doesn't replace the potential of the actual cut, but could, in fact, be seen as a supplement for when the cut eventually does come.
Which makes sense, which would be a decent little bit of information, which I'm cool with scripts. I'm definitely cool with scripts. It is kind of interesting, and we're going to shoot out some of these ideas. The fifth one being, his fifth idea is obviously release of Snyder Cut, so I understand people would want that. But out of the 4 that we're going to talk about here, I'm curious, let us know in the comments if you would take any of these other options for now. And he also brings up a point later on, which we'll talk about here, about how some of these could actually possibly provide some extra revenue to help support finishing the last little bit of what would be possibly need to be done in the Snyder Cut, the official cut itself.
Yeah, and we have talked about possibly releasing a screenplay. They do a lot of books based around like kind of behind the scenes anyways. So yeah, I agree. I think this would be a great way to just kind of say, hey, this is what was supposed to happen. It's in book form. Throw together half of the crap that we've seen on Vero anyways, along with the script. Bam, there we go.
He talks about combining it with production photos and storyboards and other script notes from Snyder. The book would be a great resource for anyone looking to understand Snyder's original vision. It also doesn't replace the potential of the actual cut. Remember that. These are not alternatives to the cut. These cure the blue balls for a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the point. That's the point.
Yeah.
So that way we're not sitting there in so much pain from the blue balls.
Yeah, exactly.
But could in fact be seen as a supplement for when the cut eventually does come. Another option here, create a graphic novel with Snyder's original Justice League story. Now, we have talked about a graphic novel,
yeah,
and we've actually talked about Snyder actually doing his 5-movie arc in the graphic novel form. So I guess it would be Batman v Superman, or even, I would actually think including Batman v Superman and Man of Steel, recap it into a graphic novel, maybe even add a little bit extra touches that he would want to add, and then continue with the 3 movies that he was planning. If that was 3 Justice League movies, go for it. If it was 2 Justice League movies and Flashpoint, like some people suspect, or a Man of Steel 2, but I still think that would be a great idea to cure the blue balls.
Yeah, absolutely. Or blue lips for our female friends. With Steven...
Jesus Christ.
Steven proceeds.
You know what that really... Never mind, I'm not going to say anything. That reminded me of something.
Moving right along. So with Snyder's famous cinematic visuals, the project could translate very well to graphic novel format, not only providing fans with the answers about the movie's original plot, but also demonstrating the visual spectacle Snyder had in mind before he left the project. Depending on the desired look, Snyder's minimalist storyboards could simply be fleshed out and colored, or he could just be paired with a great comic book artist. In fact, Snyder just gave DC co-publisher Jim Lee, who inherited Jeff Johns' vacated chief creative officer responsibilities, a major shout out on the Vero social network. He continues, Lee's art style might match Snyder's aesthetic more than any other artist's. So a Zack Snyder written, Jim Lee drawn book featuring the story of the Snyder Cut would conceivably be a big draw, even attracting readers who haven't campaigned for the Snyder Cut. I think that's very important.
I really, really like that one, because not only do you get the people that obviously want the Snyder Cut, but he's right. You get those people that are outside that, people that just read comic books in general, graphic novels,
Yeah.
just other people as well. I mean, it would just catch your eye. I think it would. I think he's dead on with that one. I find that one to be the cheapest and most effective way out of all the ones he's about to list.
And Jim Lee, come on. Well, yeah, what a perfect marriage there we could have.
Well, I don't know if it's perfect compared to this one. This is another good idea, but the next one he has here is another great idea and a pairing that I think a lot of people would really like. But he also says release the Snyder Cut as an animated adaptation. Taking things up a notch from the graphic novel, the Snyder Cut could also be attempted as an animated movie. Since Snyder got all the footage he needed completed, at least some ADR, it's even possible that existing audio could be used for the voices, cutting down significantly on cost. Which I thought was kind of an interesting idea. Yeah, if he has all the dialogue recorded, basically, he just needs to animate the characters, you know, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman as animation, and matching the lips up with what she's saying. I don't know if there's some kind of what could really hold that back, but that is a curious idea.
Maybe some fair use, or I don't really know. Matt and I have talked about animated movie before. You know, like why don't you just do this? But I never even thought about using the already existing audio. I thought, man, what a great idea. You've shot some of the scenes, just have an artist go over the top of it.
And I think Colbert here has the perfect person for the job. In fact, a frequent Snyder collaborator and Justice League storyboard artist, Jay Oliva, the Twitter Yaga himself, has already worked extensively with Warner Bros. Animation on a number of projects, including The Dark Knight Returns and Justice League War, which is similar to what Justice League was supposed to be. That, my friend, is a very, very interesting matchup.
Yes.
To have Jay Oliva and Zack Snyder working together on a animated movie of what his Justice League Snyder Cut would be. I think that's probably actually the least likely out of all these.
Yeah, absolutely.
Release the Snyder Cut light.
This is something that Matt and I had talked about, could have been released almost immediately, and probably makes the most sense if they're going to release a Snyder Cut, you know, kind of piecing together some things very similar. We've drawn the comparison with the Donner Cut, where some scenes aren't completely finished, or they have to render them a little bit differently, and it has a very small budget. That's essentially what Mr. Colbert is suggesting. So when it comes to actually releasing an alternate cut of Justice League, the most practical solution might also be the solution most likely to draw the ire of the Snyder fans. The biggest obstacle to a true Snyder Cut is the expense of finishing incomplete VFX. Snyder got all the footage he needed in principal photography and finished VFX on a few scenes, so simply settling for what's available between the theatrical cut and unused Snyder footage could reach a compromise between the two visions could be the quickest way to reach approval.
This is honestly what we've been talking about forever. And this is, when we talk about Snyder Cut, this is actually what we've been talking about. I still see this battle of semantics continue, that people believe a Snyder Cut means it's completed, done, score, everything's done, sitting on a shelf somewhere. And I truly believe that when people talk about the Snyder Cut, people in the community for the most part, I really still believe they are talking about this, and which Colbert has deemed it Snyder Cut light. We did this thing a long time ago with Jay Oliva's tweet and what the Snyder Cut definition is. I personally believe this is the most likely thing to happen, but I have seen some people question whether or not Snyder would even let something like this out. He might be a perfectionist, which kind of makes sense. And to let something out there that's only kind of only 85% done or 90% done might not be something he would approve of. I could kind of see that. Obviously, we don't know the guy. I mean, he has liked some of our videos.
So we're basically like brothers, but go on.
I don't know if that would be an issue or not, but he basically talks about, releasing the cut pretty much as it would be, or what he pretty much showed to those executives, and release it as it is. Because there is a cut. I mean, there is a cut. It's there. It's assembled. It's in a timeline. It has ADR work done to it. It has some color grading done to it. We just don't know how far along some of that is and how incomplete some of these VFX shots are. He actually says about this, as he calls it, impure Snyder Cut. Surely this impure version of the Snyder's vision would be rejected by many fans.
The fuck are you talking about?
I don't know if that's really true. I don't know where he's getting that idea from, because I feel like that's actually a majority of fans would want that. I don't know where he's getting that idea that they would be rejected. That's the thing I disagree with him the most on here.
In comparison, if you're comparing the completed full version of the Snyder Cut, everything, you know, you have the score, you have all the audio, like all the VFX is done, versus the Snyder Cut Light, as he puts it. Yeah, I think we would prefer the completed version. However, I think what most of our expectations are, it is the Snyder Cut Light version, where it, you know, as you said, it's pretty much whatever he had showed in the executives. So yeah, I don't think that any of us would really reject that idea. We just want something. If you're forced to choose between the two, we obviously would choose, yeah, invest more money into it, re-release it in the fucking theaters, and pretend that Justice League never happened. Like that's what should happen. but I think most of everyone's expectations are, yeah, just give us what you have. We just want to know.
So I guess another question for the comment section. Would you really reject this Justice League Light version? So then, of course, his final, number 5, release the actual Snyder Cut. Not a big shocker there.
Good call.
As we just talked about, you know, this would be the ultimate victory, I guess, for the Snyder Cut campaigners. Is that a word? Campaigners?
Maybe community might be.
Yeah, there we go. This would be the biggest victory. Have them reinvest more money into actually releasing this the proper way. I do agree with Steven. He says, unfortunately, this is the most costly and risky solution for Warner Brothers as well. The cost to complete the movie is far more than the cost of other options, and the prospect of getting a return on that cost doesn't inspire confidence after Justice League already flopped once at the box office. Yeah, you are investing more money that you had already put into this movie, which is their fault to begin with, but you have to invest more money to get it finished, you know, bring people back, do whatever you have to do to get it completed, to then release it via Blu-ray. I don't know if you try to partner up at theaters again. I don't know what you do, but I think that has the most to juggle, the most to kind of figure out to have that come to fruition.
So he ends this thing with, of course, none of these measures are mutually exclusive. In fact, releasing the script or graphic novel, if well received, could be a great way for Warner Bros. And DC to test the waters to gauge demand for the theatrical and or home release of the Snyder Cut. But one thing is for certain, fans aren't about to stop asking for it anytime soon. So something will have to happen eventually. I mean, it could be a good way to test the waters and really generate some revenue and see whether or not it's worth it, and see the reactions as well.
Yeah.
And then you can go for the full balls out Snyder Cut on Blu-ray, 4K, UD, whatever, fuck it, 3D, I don't know. All the different Ds in the world. D's nuts. Yes, I'm a 31-year-old man.
Well done. Oh man.
I think gauging it and trying to figure out where you're at is definitely a good idea. And I think a graphic novel in some sorts, basically also being teamed up with Jim Lee, I think is one of the coolest ones.
Yeah, I agree.
That's our filler episode for the week. Don't forget that we're going to have our mega podcast with Lantern 2814. Should be coming up out this weekend. We're going to be talking about Aquaman spoilers and probably a shit ton of other stuff as well. I'm sure it's going to be a long and hard and blue podcast.
I'm blue. I'm a DM.
In case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
The thing that's amazing is Chris is been an amazing producer on the movie because he, I think because, he said to me, he goes, Zach, Hollywood makes two kinds of movies. They make movies by committee and they make filmmaker movies. And he goes, I'm really not interested in these like movies by committee. They suck. And, he's like, the best movies, my favorite movies are, where you can feel the personality of the director and it's all about that.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. You're one of very few to make it to the end.
Yes, thank you very much.
Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Comic Movie Marks Podcast and hit the notification bell. You know, all these fucking YouTube channels say this shit, so I'm going to say it now.
Yes, it's perfect. And if you want to hear our full podcast, you can check out our podcast on iTunes or any other podcast subscription service.
Make sure you subscribe. Thanks again.